Some of the biggest mountains around the world are so tall that they are totally covered in deep snow and ice. Many are also surrounded by huge rivers of ice called glaciers. Some of the glaciers that I've dealt with in my career are well over 3,000 feet thick. And because they are a fluid, they are always moving. Because the bottom of the glacier has to travel over the irregularities of the earth, it moves at a slower rate than the top of the glacier. This difference in movement causes massive cracks to form in the solid ice. These cracks are called a crevasse, and they are so deep that if you were to drop something in it, you would probably never hear it touch the sides or hit the bottom. When you come to a crevasse, you have one of three options to get across to the other side safely. The easiest and fastest way is to find a place where there's a narrow gap in the ice, where you can just step over or jump over it. Often those narrow gaps don't exist. So the next best thing you can do is find a snow bridge. This is a place where the snow hasn't melted or collapsed into the crevasse yet. It has to be strong enough to carry the weight of a person, but you can never be totally sure. That's why we rope together and always have one person on solid ground while the other crosses the snow bridge. Now, if the snow bridge collapses, the rope will hold you and keep you from going all the way to the bottom. There are times when these snow bridges are not there, or they're not safe to cross. The only other option you have is to build a bridge by lashing together aluminum ladders to reach the other side. What does this have to do with your intentional commitment to thrive in your life? Sometimes it can feel like we're trying to cross an impossibly deep crevasse with only a rickety ladder to stand on. A single slip would be deadly. What outweighs the risk? Whatever it is that keeps you motivated to continue on your path is a core value. So ask yourself, what are your core values? What will keep you moving forward? Now really ponder that question. What will keep me moving forward? When you live a life guided by core values, you will find that it is a journey worth repeating. In response to what Nietzsche asked, even with its pain, challenges and failures, because it is a meaningful journey, on your terms, guided by your core values, it is a life of thriving, not simply enduring. A mental exercise that helps me remember what matters most uses the analogy of the crevasse. Often we encounter obstacles that just can't be avoided, and we have to choose whether or not we will let them stop us from moving forward. So imagine we are standing by a crevasse. This particular crevasse is about 1,000 feet deep, and it's about 30 feet wide. We will have to lash 3 ladders together just to scramble across. Sounds dangerous, but it is doable. Once we have put together our ladder bridge, and I've managed to get to the other side, now it's your turn. Nobody else can help you. You will have to make the trip by yourself from one side to the other, carefully stepping on the rungs of the ladders. Remember, there's a 1,000-foot drop below. The ladders will bow under your weight as you step out, and you will have to concentrate on the next rung while the abyss looms below. A misstep, a panic attack, or just moments of distraction could be deadly. Are you ready to go? If you are hesitating or just don't want to do it, what would motivate you to cross? The climb itself? Now, what if I held out a $10 bill? Would that be enough to get you to come across? If $10 isn't enough, would you do it for $100? Remember, no guarantees. You will have to make it safely across. If you are still hesitating, let me give you something else to consider. Think about someone you care very deeply for, especially if it's a young person, let's say under the age of 5. Now imagine that person standing next to me on the other side. As you're getting up the courage to come across, it starts to snow and the wind is picking up. In fact, it's not just blowing, it's gusting. So now it's getting to be a little more challenging, but I still need you to come across to join me and your loved one. But I notice the ladder on my end is melting into the soft edge of the crevasse, and I need to secure it better. I tell your family member to stay where they are while I go adjust the ladder. As I'm adjusting the ladder, unbeknownst to me, your loved one starts to wander around on the glacier on my side. Now you're getting a little panicky because that person is getting close to the edge of the crevasse, and you start yelling at me to start paying attention to your loved one. But I can't hear you because the winds are blowing. And the person is getting closer and closer to the edge. You realize that unless you can get to your loved one, they will fall. Would you cross the ladders now to save that person from falling into the crevasse? If you answered yes, then I would suggest to you that you have just identified one of your core values. When you encounter an obstacle in your life, some of you may cross the crevasse, so to speak, for any number of things. Earlier, if you said yes, I would definitely cross it for that child. You can be sure that that type of relationship is one of your core values. Passions, people, principles, or your life's purposes are common sources of values. The reason for the choices that you and I make every day, where we spend our time, the things that motivate us to overcome obstacles, to invest energy, even when it's a risk, those are our core values. When our values guide our choices, we can find motivation to cross and keep climbing.